My parents branded me ungrateful and betrayed my support. Revenge exposed who paid every bill. The crystal wedding glasses clinked against bone china as my mother slammed her hand on our family's mahogany dining table. $50,000 is nothing to you. How dare you refuse to pay for your sister Amanda's dream wedding? I took another bite of my salmon, carefully dabbing my lips with the embroidered napkin my mother was so proud of, the one I'd quietly replaced last Christmas when the original set had worn out. Like everything in this house, it existed thanks to my anonymous financial support. Sarah, my father's voice carried that familiar tone of disappointment. Your sister has always supported this family. Now it's your turn to step up. I suppressed a smile at the irony. If they only knew about the monthly transfers that kept their lights on, their cars running, and this very roof over their heads. Amanda sat across from me, tears strategically welling in her eyes. At 32, my older sister had perfected the art of emotional manipulation. It's not just the ceremony, she sniffed. It's the venue at the plaza, the designer dress, the diamonds. Jason's family expects certain standards. Jason, her investment banker fiancé, who, unknown to my family, had already been turned down for loans by 3 banks I consulted for. But they didn't need to know that yet. I work in tech support, I said mildly, maintaining my cover. $50,000 is a lot of money. Tech support. Mom threw her hands up. While your sister is marrying into the Peterson family, do you know what connections like that are worth? I did, actually. My investment firm had declined to do business with Peterson Holdings last year due to their questionable financial practices. Another detail my family didn't need to know yet. Maybe if you'd finished your MBA instead of dropping out to find yourself, Dad added, you'd understand the importance of family obligations. The MBA I'd abandoned 6 years ago to start my first company. Now I owned 5, including the financial technology firm that processed the Peterson family's rejected loan applications. Amanda reached across the table, her diamond tennis bracelet catching the light. Another gift I'd secretly funded through Mom's Christmas budget. Sarah, please, she begged. You must have savings. This is my special day. Actually, I set down my fork. Let's talk about savings and payments and obligations. I pulled out my phone and opened an app I had designed specifically for this moment. Mom, what's the mortgage payment on this house? She blinked, caught off guard. That's none of your... $4,327.42 per month, I continued. Due on the 15th. Interesting that it's never late, even though Dad's construction business hasn't had a major contract in 3 years. The color drained from my father's face. Or the property taxes, I went on. $12,865 annually, always paid precisely 1 week early. I swiped to the next screen, Amanda's credit card bills. Fascinating reading. How do you know? Amanda's voice trailed off as I turned my phone to show her last month's statement. Because I pay them, I said, all of them. Every month for the past 4 years. The silence that fell over the dining room was absolute. Even the grandfather clock in the hall seemed to hold its breath. That's impossible, Mom whispered. The payments come from Kingston Financial Services. My company, I said quietly. One of them anyway, along with the property management firm that holds this house's deed and the investment group that covers Dad's business loans. Dad's hands began to shake. But you work in tech support. I own the tech company, all 63 branches. Tech support was just a convenient cover while I built my businesses. I pulled up another screen. Would you like to see the actual numbers? Amanda's tears were real now. I don't understand. 4 years ago, when Dad's business was about to go under, I bought the mortgage. When Mom's medical bills threatened to bankrupt you, I created a payment plan. Every time Amanda maxed out her credit cards, I covered the minimums. Why didn't you tell us? Mom's voice was barely audible. Would you have accepted help from your failure of a daughter, the one who couldn't even finish her MBA? The irony of the moment wasn't lost on me. Their self-sufficient, successful daughter had been keeping them afloat while they criticized her life choices. About that wedding, I continued, opening another file, I had my team analyze Jason's financials. Would you like to know what they found? Amanda's face went pale. Sarah, please. Or we could discuss the real reason he's rushing to marry into a family he thinks has money. My phone buzzed, an alert from my banking app. Another automatic payment had just gone through, keeping this very house from foreclosure. I stood up. We can talk about the wedding budget, but first let's talk about how much this family really owes me, both financially and otherwise. The salmon had gone cold, but I didn't mind. Some dinners aren't about the food, they're about the truth. And I was just getting started. I sat in my real office the next morning, 47 floors above Manhattan, reviewing the fallout from last night's revelation. My phone had been buzzing since dawn. Mom, 6:15 a.m., we need to talk, please. Dad, 7:30 a.m., I can explain about the business. Amanda, 15 messages between 3 and 4 a.m., you've ruined everything. Jason can't know. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I watched the city wake up while my executive assistant, Maria, brought in my morning coffee and the latest financial reports. Your sister's fiancé is here, she said quietly, without an appointment. I checked the security feed on my laptop. Jason Peterson stood in the lobby, his expensive suit wrinkled, looking nothing like the confident banker from Amanda's Instagram posts. Send him up. And Maria, pull up everything we have on Peterson Holdings' recent loan applications. 5 minutes later, Jason entered my office, stopping short when he saw the view. His eyes darted from the contemporary art on the walls to the subtle indicators of wealth that Amanda would have recognized instantly had she ever bothered to visit my tech support job. Sarah, he managed. I didn't expect. Clearly. I gestured to the chair across from my desk, though I'm surprised it took you this long to figure it out. Your bank has submitted 4 loan applications to my firm this year alone. He sat down heavily. Those were rejected. Yes, I opened a file on my laptop due to insufficient collateral and questionable transaction histories. Much like your personal loan applications to 3 other banks, the color drained from his face. How did you... I own the algorithm that flags high-risk applications, Jason. The same algorithm that highlighted some interesting patterns in Peterson Holdings accounts. I turned my laptop to show him the data. Care to explain these transfers to offshore accounts? That's private banking information. Not when it involves potential fraud. I closed the laptop. Or when it involves my sister. He straightened his tie, trying to regain composure. Amanda doesn't know that her fiancé is using her supposed family connections to shore up his failing investment schemes. No, she doesn't. Yet, my phone buzzed with another text from Amanda. Jason's not answering my calls. What did you do? Here's what's going to happen, I said, pulling out a folder. You're going to end the engagement quietly and respectfully, citing irreconcilable differences. Then you're going to sign this agreement. He scanned the document, face growing paler. This is a legally binding contract to stay away from my family and repay the money you've borrowed from Amanda's credit cards, the ones I've been paying off. You can't prove... I pressed a button on my desk phone. Maria, please send in Mr. Chin from legal. Jason's facade cracked completely. Wait, I can't pay it back. The firm is underwater. Dad's investments. I know. I pulled up another document. That's why I've arranged a payment plan. You'll take the junior analyst position at Goldman Sachs. They owe me a favor. Salary garnished until the debt is cleared. Deason. Junior analyst? But I'm a vice president. Of a vice president at a failing firm under federal investigation. I smiled. Consider this a second chance, one you don't deserve. He slumped in the chair. Amanda will be devastated. Yes, I felt a twinge of sadness for my sister, but better devastated than destitute, which is where you were leading her. After he left, clutching his copy of the agreement, I pulled up the family's financial records. 4 years of secret support laid out in meticulous detail. Monthly mortgage payments, $4,327.42. Dad's business loans, $847,000 total. Mom's medical bills, $236,492. Amanda's credit cards, $127,843 and climbing. Property taxes, utilities, insurance, $43,726 annually, all paid through various shell companies, all traced back to the empire I built while they thought I was finding myself. Maria appeared at the door. Your mother's here with your sister. I checked the security feed. Mom looked smaller somehow. Her designer outfit, another gift she didn't know came from me, wrinkled. Amanda's eyes were red from crying. Send them up. I touched the frame on my desk, a photo of us from happier times before money and expectations had twisted everything. The elevator chimed. bringing my mother and sister to the moment of truth. Through the glass walls, I watched them approach, their faces a mix of shock and awe as they took in my real world. It was time to show them exactly who their ungrateful daughter had become, and maybe, just maybe, help them understand that real family support goes both ways. But first, they needed to learn what gratitude actually meant. The door opened, and the next chapter of our family story began. Mom stopped just inside my office door, her eyes darting between the awards on the wall: Financial Times 40 Under 40, Forbes Most Innovative Companies, Wall Street Journal Rising Star in FinTech. Amanda moved straight to the floor-to-ceiling windows, pressing her hand against the glass. "This building, we can see the plaza from here," her voice cracked, "where my wedding was supposed to be." "Sit," I said quietly, gesturing to the leather chairs facing my desk. "We have a lot to discuss." They sat, looking out of place in my sleek modern office. Mom clutched her bag, last year's Christmas gift from me, though she thought it came from Dad. "Jason came to see me," I started. Amanda's head snapped up. "He won't answer my calls." "What did you do?" I showed him the consequences of fraud. I opened a folder. "These are copies of the credit card statements he forged your signature on, the unauthorized loans, the offshore accounts." Mom reached for the documents with trembling hands. "But his family, the Petersons, are under federal investigation." I pulled up the latest SEC filing on my laptop. Peterson Holdings has been running a sophisticated Ponzi scheme. Jason was trying to use Amanda's supposed family wealth to shore up their collapsing empire. Amanda's carefully applied makeup began to streak. "You're lying. Jason loves me." "Jason loves money." I showed them his loan applications. "He's been rejected by every major bank in Manhattan, except he didn't know that my company owns the risk assessment algorithm they all use." "Your company?" Mom whispered. "Kingston Financial Technologies, the one that's been paying our bills." "Yes." I pulled up the family's financial records: 4 years of mortgage payments, Dad's business loans, your medical bills after the cancer scare, Amanda's credit cards. Amanda stood up abruptly. "I never asked for your help!" "No, you just maxed out card after card expecting Mom and Dad to cover it, except they couldn't. Their accounts were empty, so I stepped in." "Why?" Mom's voice was barely audible. "Why hide it?" I leaned back in my chair, looking at the photo on my desk. "Remember my college graduation? When I said I wanted to start a tech company instead of joining Dad's construction business?" They both winced, remembering. "You told me I was throwing my life away, that I'd never succeed without family connections, that I was being ungrateful for all the opportunities you'd given me. We were trying to protect you," Mom started. "No," I cut in. "You were trying to control me, so I left, built something of my own. And when I discovered Dad's business was failing, I had a choice: let you all face bankruptcy or help quietly. But your tech support job," Amanda's voice trailed off, "was a cover. I own the company, all of it." I gestured to the office. "Everything you see, I built. While you were planning weddings and maxing out credit cards, I was creating an empire." Mom's hands twisted in her lap. "The mortgage payments, they always came from Kingston Financial. I thought it was a bank." "It's my bank. My investment firm. My technology company." I stood and walked to the window. "Everything you've been living on for the past 4 years came from the daughter you called ungrateful." Amanda collapsed back into her chair. "The wedding deposits will be refunded." I turned back to them. "I've already handled it, along with Jason's debt to you." "You had no right!" she burst out. "Actually, I had every right. As the person keeping this family solvent, I have the muonwomicron right." I returned to my desk and pulled out 2 more folders. "Now we're going to discuss terms." "Terms?" Mom's voice shook. "For continued financial support." I opened the first folder. "Amanda, you'll enroll in financial management courses and get a real job. I have an entry-level position in our HR department if you want it. Learn to live within your means." "Like a con artist?" She sneered, but the effect was ruined by her smeared mascara. "Like an adult." I turned to Mom. "The country club membership, the shopping trips, the social events, all of it stops until Dad's business stabilizes. I'll maintain the mortgage and essential bills, but the luxury spending ends now." "You can't dictate how we live," Mom protested. "Actually, I can, because it's my money you've been living on." I softened my tone. "I don't want to control you. I want to help you become financially independent, but that requires changes." My phone buzzed, a text from Dad, just met with the bank. They showed me everything you've done for us. Can we talk? Jason's gone, I told Amanda gently. That's saving you from a lifetime of fraud and debt. The question is, are you ready to save yourself? The silence stretched between us, filled with years of expectations, disappointments, and unspoken truths. Finally, Mom spoke. All this time we thought we were supporting you. And I was supporting everyone. I stood up. Now you have a choice, accept help on my terms or figure it out on your own. But no more lies, no more pretense, and no more calling me ungrateful. The city stretched out below us, vast and unforgiving, much like the truth they were finally facing. What's it going to be? 6 months later, I sat in my office reviewing the family's progress reports. The changes had been interesting. Amanda's HR performance review lay open on my desk, shows promising initiative. Successfully implemented new employee orientation program, requesting additional training in corporate communications. My sister had surprised everyone, including herself, after 2 weeks of crying and raging about Jason. She'd thrown herself into her entry-level job with unexpected determination. Maybe watching her fiancé's perp walk on CNBC had been motivational. Maria entered with my morning coffee and the latest family financial summaries. Your mother's credit card statement, she said, placing it on top. Within budget for the 3rd month running. I scanned the numbers, noting the difference. Gone were the $5,000 shopping sprees and $900 salon visits. Instead, I saw reasonable purchases at mid-range stores. Progress. My phone buzzed with a text from Mom. Lunch today? Dutch treat. I'm using my new budgeting app. The corners of my mouth lifted. Small steps. Dad's business report came next. Under my company's guidance, he'd scaled down, focused on smaller contracts, and started showing actual profits. He'd even hired a proper accountant, one of my recommendations, who reported directly to me. Your father's waiting in the conference room, Maria mentioned, with the blueprints you requested. Ah, yes, the new project. I found Dad spreading construction plans across the conference table. He looked different now, less artificial polish, more genuine competence. Sarah. He straightened up. I've reviewed the community center plans. If we adjust the materials here and here, he pointed to specific sections, we can keep the quality but reduce costs by 15%. Good. I studied the modifications because this project matters. The Kingston Community Financial Education Center would offer free financial literacy classes, startup mentoring, and small business support, funded by my company, built by Dad's, and ironically partially staffed by Amanda's HR team. I was wrong, Dad said suddenly. About everything, the way we treated you, the things we said. Dad? No, let me finish. He turned to face me fully. We were so caught up in appearances and what we thought success looked like that we couldn't see real success when it was right in front of us. Through the conference room glass, I could see Amanda leading a training session in the adjacent room. She had traded her designer clothes for professional attire she'd actually paid for herself. The engagement ring was gone, replaced by a quiet confidence that suited her better. My phone buzzed again. Mom, found a great consignment shop, selling my old designer stuff. Financial literacy class tonight, don't want to be late. The family's changing, Dad noted, watching me read the text. They had to, I said, gathering the blueprints. But so did I. He raised an eyebrow. I was so focused on proving you all wrong, on building something bigger than your expectations, that I forgot about building relationships. I smiled slightly. Grandmother would have called it a hollow victory. Your grandmother would be proud of you now. Dad touched the community center plans. This is real legacy. My laptop chimed with an alert. Amanda had just submitted a proposal for a company-wide financial wellness program, her first major project initiative. Meeting in 5 minutes, Maria announced from the doorway. The board wants to discuss expanding the community center concept to other cities. Dad gathered his things. Dinner Sunday. Your mother's cooking now, taking classes at the community college, actually sticking to a food budget. Dutch treat? I teased. Of course. He paused at the door. Thank you, not for the money, for believing we could be better. After he left, I walked to my office window, looking out at the city where I'd built my empire. The plaza was visible in the distance. No longer a symbol of Amanda's shattered wedding dreams, but just another building in a skyline full of possibilities. My phone lit up with a group text. Amanda, got my first performance bonus. Small, but I earned it. Mom, so proud of you, honey. P.S. Found a great recipe for Sunday dinner. Dad, community center estimates updated, under budget. I smiled, remembering another conversation in this office 6 months ago when I'd given them a choice. They had chosen change. Real change, not just financial. Maria appeared with more reports. Your sister's requesting a meeting. Something about expanding the HR training program to include financial literacy for all new employees. Schedule it. I picked up the family photo on my desk. Not the old one, but a new picture from last Sunday's dinner. All of us in the kitchen, learning to cook together, laughing over Mom's slightly burned lasagna. The empire I'd built was important, but watching my family rebuild themselves, that was priceless. My phone buzzed one last time, a text from Amanda. Quick question about the wellness program budget. And thanks for everything. I typed back, that's what families are for, when they're ready to learn. Outside, the city hummed with energy, full of people chasing success. But real success, I'd learned, wasn't just about proving people wrong. It was about giving them the chance to prove themselves right, even if it took a few hard lessons along the way. And sometimes those lessons turned out to be the greatest gift of all. 6 months have passed since that dinner, and sometimes, late at night when the city is quiet and the lights on the 47th floor are the only ones still burning, I sit at my desk and let myself feel everything I didn't allow myself to feel back then. I was angry for so long. Not the loud, explosive kind of anger that breaks glasses and slams doors. My mother already owned that version, but a cold, precise, surgical anger that lived in spreadsheets and shell companies and automatic payments scheduled for the 15th of every month. It was anger that built an empire while I smiled politely at family gatherings and let them call me a dropout, a disappointment, the family's cautionary tale. Every time they said tech support with that little sneer in their voices, I added another 0 to someone else's valuation. Every eye roll at my wasted potential became another patent, another acquisition, another floor added to this building they never bothered to visit. I told myself I didn't need their approval. I told myself the money was just money, an efficient way to solve problems from a distance. I told myself I was fine being the invisible architect of their comfort while they toasted to Amanda's perfect life and pitied poor Sarah who couldn't even finish an MBA. But the truth is uglier, and I can finally admit it now. I wanted them to hurt the way they'd hurt me, not with bankruptcy or foreclosure. I'm not a monster, but with the slow, corrosive realization that the daughter they dismissed had been carrying them for years. I wanted the moment when the mask came off to feel like vengeance. I rehearsed it in my head 1,000 times, the perfect pause, the perfect slide of the phone across the mahogany table, the perfect silence after because I pay them. I wanted their faces to crumple. I wanted to watch pride turn to shame in real time. And when it happened, when Mom whispered, "That's impossible," and Dad's hands shook so hard his water glass trembled, it felt exactly as triumphant as I'd imagined, for about 8 seconds. Then something cracked open inside me that I hadn't budgeted for. Because in that silence I didn't see enemies brought low. I saw my mother, who used to read me bedtime stories about princesses who were brave enough to leave the castle. I saw my father, who taught me how to swing a hammer when I was 7 and told me I could build anything I wanted. I saw Amanda, annoying, entitled, beautiful Amanda, who once let me sleep in her bed after nightmares and braided my hair before my first school dance. They weren't villains. They were just human. Flawed and frightened and clinging to the only version of success they'd ever been taught to want. And I'd spent 4 years punishing them for not seeing me, when maybe part of the problem was that I'd stopped letting them see me. So yes, I made Jason sign the agreement. Yes, I laid down terms like a queen issuing decrees. Yes, I watched Amanda cry mascara rivers and felt, for one brief, intoxicating moment, that justice had finally been served. But justice is a cold bedfellow. The real healing started in smaller moments no one will ever post on social media. It started when Mom showed up unannounced with a Tupperware of slightly overcooked lasagna and said, "I used the generic cheese. It's fine." It started when Dad asked, voice cracking, if he could show me the new community center blueprints because you always were better at seeing the whole picture. It started when Amanda, 3 weeks into her entry-level job, texted me at 2 a.m., "I'm scared I'm not smart enough for this." And instead of saying, "Figure it out," I answered, "You are. And if you're not yet, you will be. I'm here." I'm still angry sometimes. There are days I walk past the old family photos in the hallway and feel the sting of every word they ever weaponized against me. But anger isn't the only thing living in my chest anymore. There's pride, too, fierce, aching pride, when I watch Amanda present her financial wellness proposal to the executive team without once looking at her nails. There's tenderness when Mom texts a photo of her first consignment shop sale with the caption, "Sold the Birkin, paid the electric bill myself." There's something dangerously close to hope when Dad calls not to ask for money, but to ask my opinion on load-bearing beams. I spent years proving I didn't need them. Now I'm learning something infinitely harder. I still want them. Not the versions who needed my money, but the versions who are slowly, clumsily, bravely becoming people who might one day see me, really see me, and love who they find. Some nights I stand at the window and look out at the city I conquered, and I whisper to the younger version of myself who cried in a dorm room because her family didn't believe in her, "We did it, kid. We built the castle without them." But then I look at the new family photo on my desk, all of us laughing in a kitchen that smells like slightly burned garlic bread, and I think maybe the real victory wasn't building the castle alone. Maybe it was opening the gates and letting them walk through, scared, humbled, trying and choosing every single day to keep the drawbridge down. That's the part no one warns you about when you decide to become unstoppable. One day you might have all the power in the world, and the only thing left to conquer is your own heart's refusal to forgive. I'm still working on it, but for the first time in years, I want to succeed at that too.